Uh, I hope I'm audible. Okay. So on the aspect of evidence, it is very rightly said and a very important topic, which I don't think I've heard a lot of in the past barrage of webinars that are being hosted everywhere. And it is really a very critical topic. We need to see how where this goes, in the sense that keeping in mind that the Bombay High Court has already issued notifications exempting all parties and advocates from making notaries or affirmations, etc., because of this COVID-19 situation, and because of the absence of the competent personnel doing undertaking all these tasks. So everything is taken, number one, at the face value of it, number two, with affidavits, number three, with competent undertaking, where the Bombay High Court has stated that all undertakings have to be given by the advocate on record. And the advocate on records really need to be very careful on what they are drafting, on what they are stating on oath, even though that oath is not affirmed. But be that as it may, once you're placing anything before the court, it is deemed to be affirmed. It is deemed to be a correct information at the very face of it. So evidence is, yes, it is an issue. We need to see. We need to, maybe perhaps the legislature will have to take a note of it, perhaps make some addition, perhaps make some amendments so as to include the present situation into consideration and make competent provisions for it. Just like how the COVID-19 era forced, the consequential amendment in the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, whereby no fresh filings are happening in under Section 789, 7910, and how the pecuniary jurisdiction has increased from 1 lakh to 1 crore. So that was a very severe jump, and it could be suicidal, if I have to use that word, for various practitioners who only practice in the NCLTs. So that also is being considered. So the legislature really has to look into that aspect as to what kind of evidences we are looking at and how evidence should proceed in these kind of situations. But all in all, again, I want to say that in digital codes, you will of course miss one thing very, very dearly, is the aspect of a debate. A kind of debate that you do in an online platform where, just like this, let's consider this to be a hearing where, Sudisha, you're the judge, I'm the counsel, and let's say the others are somebody else who's the opposing counsel, and then there are 100 others who are just waiting in line. You never know whose mic is switched on, whose video got switched on, and then there's some background noise, there's somebody who's singing. So I've heard all of this, and all I say is by way of precedence. This is what I've experienced. And it's very difficult for the judge to also listen. You say something, there's an internet connection, and I live in a funnel zone. So there are planes flying every 5 minutes over my head. So there are electrical disturbances, there are internet interference. So these are the various issues that are, of course, will be there, but then you don't have a choice. Otherwise, you don't want the judge tell you that you please get outside your containment zone. You please travel, take a taxi and travel, or take a train or travel, take any transport and travel. Come to this containment zone, come inside the court, and we'll give you an in-person hearing. I have no problem. If you want to take that risk, then nowhere else. Nobody has any problem to that. But then it is senseless. So these are the problems which will be there, but there's no use crying over those problems. Please take this. I have taken it in my stride, and we'll overcome this. Because finally, practice has to continue, and even if practice does not continue, justice has to be served. It has to continue. Yeah. Oh, so this was a clarification to the evidence. Yeah. I derailed for a moment, but yeah.
Yeah.
I had a question. So, Rajiv, what about urgent matters? You keep hearing all these things that if somebody is if it's not an urgent matter, there's heavy cost, that parties have to incur. Has something like that? Have you experienced something like that?
No, I actually used one of the orders passed by Justice Patel of Bombay High Court, where a contempt matter in the regular course or regular contempt matter was being pressed for urgent hearing, where Justice Patel, after duly considering the entire matter, had imposed cost of 15,000 rupees, I think. So I used that order in another contempt hearing that was going on before a city civil court. But I think, of course, the cases were different, but it was a contempt matter. But no, so a couple of my friends, affiliates who are practicing in the Calcutta High Court did face similar situations where so one came out in the papers itself where a cost of I think 1 lakh rupees was imposed on the advocate for moving a similar petition again and again and wasting judicial time, especially in light of COVID-19 era. Yes, I have a very old tryst with costs being imposed. Howsoever, I've remained extremely cautious as to the type of matters which I intend to press during this COVID-19, especially in VC. It has to be extremely urgent, as rightly said by Justice Patel in his orders. It has to be extremely, if not super urgent. And even otherwise, even if you consider your matter to be super urgent, it finally consideration will have to be first given by the court to actually list your matter first. So be that as it may, the question of cost has significantly reduced because you're not mentioning out of turn as we used to fondly do during in-person hearings. But of course, I have seen during virtual hearings, I have seen kept back matters being randomly, the councils of kept back matters just coming out of turn and just mentioning the matter, and the judges and the associates of the courts do not have any idea where that voice has come from. And a very funny thing is that when the judge confronts that who is this voice, who is making this noise, so there is no answer to that then. So those are the fun of digital hearings. It's very fun to watch.
So what do you do with clients? You know, there are so many clients who are like, "Me, mera matter
No,
urgent hai."
so clients are typically not allowed to be in the virtual hearings. So that is one very, very, very good thing. At least I have not seen any clients attending any virtual hearings. It is entirely possible that the client may be sitting just opposite to the counsel who's appearing in a video conferencing, and then maybe they are saying that, oh, don't argue this, argue that, and that is heard. Sir, आप ऐसा क्यों argue कर रहे हो? So these are heard. I mean, and it's very funny. And I've also seen counsels, showing some, dissatisfaction to his junior. Why are you giving me this paper? Give me that paper. So those are fun to watch. So clients are not involved, but it is only the counsels who are there. And one very good thing is that you cannot approach the bench without duly serving upon the copies which you intend to argue upon all the parties. So every party will have to be involved. Only then cases will proceed. I tried doing that once. Unfortunately, I was thrashed out of court. So I had to apologize and I had to tell, okay, sorry, I did not know the procedure. I will come back. So there are a lot of changes. There are a lot of procedural changes. There are a lot of professional changes that are coming in. And you need to be very cool and calm. It's not as if you're going into a fiery place where you want to give any fiery arguments. You have to be very cool, calm, composed, because you don't know what connection the other person is having. And so you need to be very careful with your words, and you need to be very composed as to make every word be understood by the person who's listening to you.
That's very interesting. Okay. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Excuse me, ma'am. Can I ask a question, please?
Sure, please.
So my question to you would be based on the things which you just said right now. How would arguments be put forth when? How would they be different from a personal hearing to a digital one? Because there are certain things which you can't just impersonate in a digital hearing. You need to have that effect when you are standing face to face. And in lack of such a effect, how do you manage to put forth your point to the judge? So that's my question.
Okay, so I can say that the principal difference between in-person hearings or the hearings that used to happen before Corona and what's happening right now is that no regular matters have been taken. And if there is only super urgent matters, I think the point of law or the point of fact is very limited. So if it's a very limited point of fact, it is easier for you to just have your written notes of arguments ready and place it and just argue point to point, because it is all about, it is just like more or less like an injunction hearing. It's all about question about tiding over the present crisis. And some of the examples, I'll give you some of the examples which I have seen. It is about acceptance of bids in electronic form, where you have given a bid which was given by a company during Corona, and all acceptance of bids were done digitally. However, there was some problem on the online platform for which the digital bid could not be accepted in time. So it's just a question on digital. So the urgency is that the bid ends in 1 hour. I have given the bid 1 hour back. The company is not accepting. So these are the small questions of law where you don't need long, elaborate answers. Another very important aspect is about, again, intellectual property infringement. So I have a mark, somebody else is infringing about my mark, and we have ex parte ad interim reliefs that are being granted as per CPC. So, and those hearings do not go on for a long time. We know that. So once the injunction is granted, and then on the question of elaborate hearings, yes, the judges really face a very tough time because there are no parameters for one to argue. You have to argue your entire case in entirety. But I have seen pleadings, I have seen cases where, in my own case, where I had appeared before the National Company Law Appellate Tribunal in Delhi, where I had the pleadings from both the sides. The entire trial court pleadings proceedings comprised of about 2,000 pages. And Justice Mukhopadhyay just told me to summarize my entire argument in 2 pages. So that was a challenge. It's an extreme challenge, and I had to argue just point to point. And I'm pretty sure in a pleading of 100 pages, I think only 4 or 5 pages are the important ones. So how to plead, what to plead, is a matter of experience. It's a matter of exposure, which I think you will have to traverse. That is answering your question.
Well,
Any more?
the key guys, basically. That for IDP playbook, these are the guys that we initially, this would be a top pick.
Not, then we can wrap this up.
These are the top picks from an enterprise perspective, right?
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being the first one here. So I hope we'll see you as a guest, not guest, sorry. I hope to see you again next week when somebody else is speaking. Thank you everybody for taking out the time and for joining us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Stay safe.